Hi, my name is Nina Hirota. I'm a global HR leader, organizational advisor, AI educator, and founder and chief talent officer of Global Synergy Partner Solutions. Over the past 20 years, I have worked across Fortune 500 companies and global organizations spanning multiple industries and dozens of countries. My work has focused on helping organizations navigate major transitions, such as mergers and acquisitions, cultural transformation, workforce optimization, and leadership development. And through that work, I've learned from and worked alongside outstanding leaders whose decisions have influenced major organizations, industries, as well as public institutions. And that experience reinforced one conviction, which is that leadership determines how organizations respond when changes outpaces their systems, capabilities, and people. We are entering one of those moments. The era of intelligent work requires us to reconsider effective leadership, not just that, decision making, and the source of human value. AI has been compared with the internet, electricity, and other technologies that reshape economies and societies. Those comparisons have limitations, but one characteristic makes this shift especially consequential, and that is the extraordinary speed at which AI can reach individuals and organizations. So much so that Elon Musk has described AI as one of the most disruptive forces in human history. Regardless of whether we agree with that prediction, the adoption data deserves attention. So let's put the pace into context. To understand why this moment feels different, compare AI adoption with prior technologies. This graph shows adoption rates of several innovations in the United States. Electricity took over 50 years to move from roughly 10% to nearly universal household adoption. The internet took approximately 7 years to reach 100 million users. ChatGPT took just 5 days to reach 1 million users. It then reached 100 million users in about 2 months. And just in May, this past May, approximately 3.5 years after launch, it reached 1 billion monthly users, making it the fastest growing consumer application in history. These measures are not perfectly comparable. Household electrification and application use represent different forms of adoption. But the directional message is very clear. The time between invention, access, and organizational impact has contracted dramatically, and leaders must make decisions while the technology, risks, regulations, and expectations are evolving simultaneously. Earlier technology shifts often gave organizations more time to observe, plan, train, and adopt. Today, employees may use AI before the organization has a strategy, governance standards, or approved tools. Other organizations deploy technology faster than employees can develop the confidence and judgment to use it. And this speed means that leaders cannot wait for perfect clarity. They need enough fluency to ask better questions, identify appropriate experimentation, and recognize where stronger oversight is required. This acceleration is producing three structural changes in work and expertise. First, knowledge is becoming abundant and cheaper. Information that once required specialized access or technical expertise can now be generated and synthesized almost instantly. The cost of information is approaching zero, and yet, access does not guarantee accuracy, context, or sound judgment. Second, learning becomes continuous and situational. People must repeatedly update their capabilities as tools, professional standards, and operating models evolve. Learning will increasingly occur in the flow of work, when a new problem emerges. And third, human differentiation shifts towards judgment and synthesis, framing problems, challenging assumptions, evaluating evidence, integrating perspectives, and taking responsibility for consequential decisions. AI is changing both the availability of expertise and the qualities that make it valuable. These structural shifts make AI larger than a technology trend. Gartner forecasts worldwide AI spending of approximately $2.5 trillion in 2026, up 44% from the previous year. For perspective, $2.5 trillion exceeds the annual economic output of most countries. Italy's GDP is approximately 2.3 trillion. At this level, AI becomes part of the operating environment. It shapes infrastructure, capital allocation, labor markets, and of course, competitive expectations. It also creates pressure to invest before organizations clarify the business problem, redesign the work, or even establish accountability for results. And for leaders, the strategic question is, where can AI create measurable value, and what must change for that value to materialize responsibly? That question affects strategy, workforce capability, governance, and of course, organizational design. The World Economic Forum estimates that 92 million jobs may disappear by 2030, just a few years from now. And while nearly 170 million new ones may emerge, driven by new technology, the central issue is the pace and unevenness of the transition. Organizations may face talent shortages while eliminating roles. Some employees will gain more meaningful work, while others may lose traditional entry points into a profession they may have selected. But the World Economic Forum also describes 4 possible futures based on AI advancement and workforce readiness.
This chart visualizes current executive expectations for the 2030 labor market. Today, 54% of business leaders expect artificial intelligence to displace existing jobs, while only 23% anticipate the creation of new roles. However, the outcome of this disruption is not predetermined by software alone. The actual reality of the 2030 workplace will be determined by a collision between 2 highly variable forces: the pace of AI advancement and the readiness of the human workforce to adapt. Leaders must prepare to navigate 4 distinct economic realities. This matrix plots our 2 variables to build the framework for 2030. We measure AI advancement on the y-axis, ranging from incremental to exponential, against workforce readiness on the x-axis, ranging from limited to widespread. The top right quadrant represents supercharged progress. Here, exponential AI breakthroughs meet a highly skilled AI-literate workforce. Workers harness an agentic leap, directing capable machines to drive soaring productivity and scale new occupations. Contrast that with the top left quadrant, the age of displacement. In this scenario, exponential AI advancement outpaces the labor pool's capacity to adapt. Facing a talent shortage, businesses race to automate as a stopgap measure. Securing rapid technological leaps without investing in continuous human readiness forces a severe trade-off. Businesses achieve localized margin gains, but trigger massive spikes in unemployment and societal fracture. Moving to the lower half of the matrix, the bottom right quadrant represents a co-pilot economy. AI progress is gradual, but widespread workforce readiness allows for rapid absorption and pragmatic integration. Instead of mass automation, industries experience incremental transformation. Human AI teams safely reshape value chains, lifting skills and steadily improving margins through augmentation. The final scenario, in the bottom left quadrant, is stalled progress. Steady AI progress meets a workforce lacking critical skills. Businesses lean on basic automation strictly to backfill scarce talent, relying on slow technological adoption while ignoring internal upskilling results in the worst of both worlds. The economy stagnates, productivity gains remain patchy, and the labor market is paralyzed. Predicting which of these four scenarios will dominate globally is impossible, but businesses can isolate specific, no-regret strategies to deploy immediately. The immediate imperative is alignment. Organizations must link technology investments directly to domain-specific talent development. Workflows must be explicitly designed for human-AI collaboration. Leaders should avoid massive, high-risk operational overhauls. The most resilient approach is to start with small, controlled experiments, test them on low-risk operational bottlenecks, and rapidly scale the systems that yield measurable data. By 2030, competitive advantage will belong to the organizations that treat human capital as a vital asset to be elevated alongside machine intelligence, rather than an expense to be automated.
This framing reminds us that outcomes are still being shaped by leaders, governments, educators, and organizations. Changes to roles, workflows, skills, and decisions directly affect talent strategy, leadership expectations, and organizational capability. And many roles will be reshaped. New occupations will also emerge, just like previous shifts created roles such as social media manager and digital community manager. AI, in fact, is already creating roles such as prompt engineer and synthetic media specialist, which we had never heard before. So some titles will endure, while others will disappear as AI becomes embedded within existing professions. The other thing to consider is that AI has already entered the physical world, and intelligence is no longer confined to software. It can now be combined with machines that perceive, communicate, and perform physical tasks. Humanoid robots are being marketed at prices once associated with specialized equipment. As you can see in this graph, a Chinese humanoid robot now sells for about $5,500. At that price, adoption at scale is a matter of time. And watch the pace of development in robotic movement. This clip is from China's 2026 Spring Festival Gala just in February, one of the world's most watched television broadcasts. Humanoid robots performed synchronized kung fu live with children, and they balanced, pivoted, struck, and recovered in real time. This brings us to new leadership expectations. Leaders will increasingly manage work across four capability models: humans working independently, humans augmented by AI, autonomous agents, and intelligent systems. You could be working with a team that looks just like this. This brings us to the key point in today's lecture. Recent Harvard research identifies 5 leadership capabilities becoming critical for the future of work. First, leaders must span organizational boundaries. AI development involves regulators, startups, universities, technology companies, which will then require leaders to navigate much broader ecosystems. Second, leaders must redesign organizations. AI's value comes from rethinking businesses' processes and building new business models. Managers must become organizational architects. Third, leaders must orchestrate collaboration between humans and intelligent work. They must balance human and algorithm inputs while creating psychological safety for hybrid teams to test scenarios, share failures, and learn together. Fourth, leaders must coach and develop talent as teams learn new ways of working. They must act more as coaches and less as work inspectors. Finally, leaders must lead by example. Those who never use AI will struggle to guide others credibly. Leaders need enough applied fluency to ask intelligent questions and model responsible use. The choices leaders make now will shape how work is designed, capabilities built, responsibilities assigned, and how AI's benefits are distributed. So I want to leave you with one question. What role will you play in shaping intelligent work? Thank you.